So I don't think anyone was going into February of 2024 expecting to hear news like Xbox are handing over some of their exclusives to PlayStation 5. It's one of the wildest thoughts of all time. Can you imagine if Nintendo just randomly decided to wake up one day and hand over Zelda or Mario to Xbox or PlayStation? Yeah, in your wildest fucking dreams. Last month, there was a bit of a rumor circulating that Hi-Fi Rush, a game that was shadow dropped last year by Tango Games. By the way, Hi-Fi Rush, I've heard fantastic things about it. It was very well received. I'm still yet to get around to playing it. I have purchased it. It's sitting there. Leave me alone. I'll get there. This is in fact coming to both Nintendo Switch as well as PlayStation. This news was pretty massive because for one, this is a fantastic game, but two, it's a pretty good reason to have an Xbox. This was really well received. As time's gone on, more and more evidence has surfaced suggesting that Hi-Fi Rush is in fact going multi-platform, including a recent data mine showing off t-shirt textures that pertains to each of the different platforms that Hi-Fi Rush will be on. Not just that, but there were also image graphics that were data mined, celebrating Hi-Fi Rush's first anniversary, displaying to us some DLC t-shirts that will be available for quote-unquote all platforms. Oh, but that is just the beginning of the Xbox fuse, because the picture is a lot bigger here. Then a couple of days ago, Xbox airdropped an exclusive article from their insiders mentioning that Starfield is currently in the talks at Microsoft to potentially make its way to PS5 to become multi-platform. Apparently the folks over at Microsoft have been quietly discussing the pros and cons of bringing some of their exclusives to other platforms in order to generate further income for the company. You know, exclusives, those things that give people a reason to go ahead and purchase a specific piece of plastic. Starfield was Xbox's big release in 2023. It wasn't as well received as a lot of Bethesda's previous games, which was a little bit disappointing. I personally sunk about 130 hours into it on the PC version. I thoroughly did enjoy my time, but the populace is right. Starfield just doesn't hit the same as Fallout and The Elder Scrolls, and the game certainly has its issues. That being said, I had a pretty fun time with it. On top of that insider information, a whole slew of other games being rumored to come to PlayStation, and we're talking heavy hitters. Jeff Grubb, who is a very well-known industry insider, mentioned on his podcast a few days back that Gears of War is currently in the talks of potentially being on PlayStation. This has been one of the big Xbox heavy hitters. Looking at Halo, Gears of War, or Forza, those are the three pillars as to why you would make a purchase towards an Xbox. Within the same podcast, he mentions that Xbox are planning on making some form of announcement towards their next strategy of bringing games to other platforms, and lo and behold, a few days later, Phil Spencer makes a tweet pretty much saying that there is going to be an important update on Xbox's future and the next step in the business strategy come next week. The current rumored games that will be going multi-platform from Xbox's catalog is Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves, Microsoft Flight Simulator, Halo Master Chief Collection, Halo Infinite, Grounded, Gears of War, and Hellblade 2. And just to add a little bit of credibility to that rumor of Halo Infinite coming to PlayStation 5, which is a wild thought, 343 recently posted up a new job listing for the company, mentioning that one of the responsibilities of this job position is focusing the systems design team on achieving a high-quality, cohesive experience for all players on all platforms. And this is a job listing for Halo, not a separate side project that 343 are going to be working on. Don't take that as clear confirmation that Halo is in fact coming to PlayStation, but kind of seems likely, especially with all of these other things surrounding Xbox exclusives going multi-platform. So this is wild. Like, really fucking wild. Let's just forget like Gears of War or Forza for a second. You look at Master Chief, this dude is like the Mario of Xbox. I personally play Halo Infinite every single week. I am a massive Halo fan and have been since Halo 2. This is a beloved Xbox franchise, and I'm saying this as a PlayStation owner. Sure, the idea of playing Halo on my PlayStation is kind of cool. I think I'd just still play it on PC though anyway. It sort of seems omega cap for Xbox to just hand over their mascot like that Now he's free reign on almost all systems. I'm all for more people being able to play more games on their systems. You know, the better the accessibility, the more people are able to enjoy these games, but I still believe that some consoles should retain their iconic mascots. Like, we'd never see Mario go off Nintendo, and the day that happens is the day that I'll start wearing socks in the shower. I don't think in a million years anyone could ever envision a future where Halo would be playable on a PlayStation. Now, we know that over the past few years, Microsoft have been busy pretty much acquiring a bunch of different studios. Heavy hitters like Bethesda. They spent a lot, and I mean a lot of money to get these guys. They also have Activision Blizzard under their wing too. Now, because of the sheer amount of money that it costs in order to acquire these studios, it means that Microsoft, even though they are a gargantuous company, one of the biggest on this floating rock, they are a business at the end of the day, and for the long run of things, eventually they're gonna want to see the money that they sunk into acquiring these studios returned to them. And if the reach of those games that are being developed by those said studios are restricted in some areas, from their point of view, they're not tapping into the full potential of a return. Now, if you look at Starfield, it sold 11 to 12 million units, which is pretty decent. That's across both Xbox and PC. However, if PlayStation was also added into that mix, that number would probably be quite a bit higher, looking at somewhere around the 16 to 18 million mark. This is likely what Microsoft have been looking at recently through that business lens of these games could do well if they were available on more platforms like Nintendo and PlayStation. Xbox has also been in a position for a long time where they aren't really known for their exclusives, or if they do pump out exclusives, they don't tend to do too well. Now I want to make one thing real clear. I am a console wars disenjoyer, dude. There is nothing worse than jumping onto the internet each day to come across two sloppy neckbeards battling it out like their life depends on it, as if they're in a scene from 300, arguing over what piece of plastic is the better piece of plastic. You know, Xbox this or PlayStation that, this is the reason why you should go here or there or do this or that or spend your money on this. Yeah, but this one's got 36 teraflops and that one there's got movie game. Yeah, but the speed of hard drive data transfer is like Sonic on crack. Who gives a damn? Like, so long as you're happy with your purchase, like, it's nobody else's business. Like, just... It is the most embarrassing thing I think I've ever seen, and like, these people are ravenous, and this goes for both PlayStation as well as Xbox. I most certainly align more with PlayStation, always have, grew up with it. In my earlier years though, I definitely was a Xbox 360 enjoyer. It was just the better option during the time, forget the PlayStation 3. But dude, I ain't out here trying to shove the triangle, square, circle, and X down people's... These people need to go outside and not just touch, but consume grass. Now, last month, a big headline circulating the gaming world was that Xbox laid off close to almost 2,000 employees across both Xbox and Activision Blizzard. The reason behind this was to land more of a sustainable cost structure to both companies. I think what we're starting to see here with both the idea of Xbox exclusives going multi-platform, as well as a ton of people losing their jobs at Xbox, is quite literally the aftershock of the company whipping their credit card through every single studio they can find, and that is keen to be picked up by them. It's totally not a bad thing, because for some studios, it provides more stability, more structure, and above all else, more funding for projects. The other side of it, though, is there is a chance that if you once worked at one of these companies now owned by Microsoft, your job is axed. Again, almost 2,000 people faced this. And another thing that came out of the insider reports with Microsoft talking about wanting to take some of their games to other platforms is that some of the employees just simply do not agree and are quite disgruntled. So another negative here is that the parent company, Xbox, in this situation, may potentially steer some of these studios in a direction that does not agree with most of the devs. That old-fashioned saying of when you're in somebody else's house, you have to abide by their rules. Xbox's big philosophy has always been about a gaming ecosystem, being able to play their games on as many platforms as possible. It seems like they're really trying to aim for that in the serious sense of putting them on other platforms like PlayStation and Nintendo. The ecosystem doesn't just mean within the Xbox or PC family, no, they're spreading their wings. And obviously, your games are going to make more money if they are available on more platforms. The better the accessibility, the more money in return. So it's not a bad idea from a business perspective, and for consumers too, it's a great thing. You don't have games that are locked on certain platforms, they're available everywhere. Overall, you're going to have bigger and better fan bases for these said games. However though, if you look at the console market, there are two big names here, Xbox and PlayStation. You of course have Nintendo, but they generally are doing their own thing, and Sony has never really seen Nintendo as a true competitor. They are big dogs in the gaming space though. I mean, you just look at the sales of Nintendo Switch and they're up there, man. They're like close approaching the PlayStation 2 overall sales, a best-selling console of all time. It's insane. Good on Nintendo. But when looking at mainstream titles, current generation games, it's always been Xbox and PlayStation. If one of those start to fold out, it pretty much means that looking at PlayStation in this circumstance, they are the head of the entire console market. They can pretty much dictate and do whatever they want because there is no alternative. So while we might initially think this is great from a consumer point of view, in the long run, I don't think it is. I love the idea of being able to play Xbox games on my PlayStation. I mean, that's absolutely fantastic. But at the same time too, we've already seen stuff like price hikes from Sony since the PlayStation 5 generation has begun. In my country, I'm paying like anywhere from $120 to $150 for a game, which is ludicrous. And if Xbox really are going to start kicking back and being more of a multi-platform developer, hell, maybe even a Sega situation of just leaving the console market altogether and only developing games from their acquired studios, then these price hikes will only get worse. Obviously, we have no idea what is actually happening. Aside from Hi-Fi Rush, it seems like that's definitely coming to other platforms, which is great. In regards to all of the other games that I have mentioned in this video, right now they just remain as rumors. We're gonna have to wait and see what Phil Spencer says about Xbox's future in the update that we get next week. I can also imagine too, for Xbox consumers, that this news is pretty disappointing and quite daunting. From what I've already seen on social media, a lot of consumers are already feeling pretty betrayed. A lot of lies have gone on saying that certain things will remain on the console. Now this kind of news pops up. No, that's not the case. And at the end of the day too, it's leaving a lot of these Xbox consumers with basically no reason to own an Xbox. You may as well go PlayStation to then enjoy what could be Xbox exclusive games on top of PlayStation games and everything else. The major thing I think they'll stick with though is Game Pass, pretty much offering that service exclusively on Xbox systems and on PC, and that you get these big heavy hitter games that might come to PlayStation but will only be available on Game Pass, perhaps maybe day one. It might be a situation of timed exclusivity where they are only available on Xbox for a certain time, and after a year or 6 months, they eventually go multi-platform. Again, everything is up in the air, but if this all goes through and what is being said actually happens, this is quite possibly one of the biggest events in gaming history. However guys, that's all for today. Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. As always, thank you so much to my patrons. You guys are amazing. Appreciate the support. Be sure to check out my other social media platforms as well as the second channel. Subscribe here to TGJ to keep up with the latest and greatest. I'm Cynical, hopefully you're having a good one, and we'll talk real soon.